So we ended up seeing this move to the downside that I talked about in my previous update, where I mentioned that it was possible that what we had forming was a WX Y structure. And for the Y structure to be in play, what we needed was for ADA to breach past this level here at 76.12 cents. And that would then further confirm that we are bearish. So if I go on the hourly chart, what you can see is a breaker structure was triggered on smart money concept once we breached past this level here, as you can see, and that then further confirmed that we were bearish. And I set out that Y wave to potentially tap into this region here, which is a 1 to 1.226 retracement of the W wave. And that region sits between 66 cents to 69 cents. And I did mention that we didn't necessarily have to tap into this region here for as long as we met the minimum requirement, which is the 61.8% retrace level, which more or less sits where this yellow line is, which is the support or resistance line that I marked out previously. And so if I bring in the Fib tool to this level here, just to illustrate my point. And so what you can see is the 0.618 level more or less sits where this yellow line is. And given that we ended up breaching past this level, that then meant that technically speaking, this structure is now complete, and we could then potentially see that reversal to the upside, where we can then potentially begin to track the wave 5. And I also talked about how we had a rising wedge pattern that was forming, where if I was to draw in the upper trend line and the lower trend line, like so. And I mentioned that the minimum depth of this move to the downside had to be the height of this wedge here. So if I draw that in, like so, and here you can see that this height more or less sits where this yellow trend line is. And of course, as you can see, that's where we ended up reaching. Now, of course, we did wick below this yellow line and the 200 DMA, but then we saw that bounce to the upside. And so technically speaking, again, this structure could be complete, but we will need further confirmation. And so the first test really would be towards this 50 EMA, which during the time of recording sits at 80.22 cents. And the second test would be this level here at 85.59 cents. So if I go on the hourly chart, what you can see is smart money concept is currently indicating that there is a strong high at this level. And so if we were to breach past this level, that would then trigger a breaker structure, which would then further confirm that we are on a bullish trend. So if I zoom back or zoom out and go back in time, what you can see is a similar play took place over here, where we ended up reaching this level here and saw that move to the upside. And that then triggered a breaker structure, which then further confirmed that we were bullish. And so this would be the next move that I'll be looking out for, where we breach past this level and then see that continuation to the upside, where we can then begin to track the wave 5. And yeah, as far as this recent move goes, what you can see is we had a move of around or just over 7%, which is of course a good sign. And it looks like a potential WXY structure is forming. And so what I'll do is I'll go on the 5-minute chart and bring in the Fib tools. Now you can see that we have a strong low that's been signaled. So if I bring in the Fib tool and bring this to over here at 75.17 cents. And so the next key region for ADA to test would be this region here, between 79.02 cents to 79.96 cents. And of course, we have met the minimum requirement, which is this level here. So technically speaking, this structure is now complete, but I will be looking at for that continuation to the upside where we tap into this region here, and that will then confirm a WXY structure. And if that's the case, what we could have forming is a bigger WXY structure, where this would be the W wave. We see a corrective move to the downside, followed by a fan push to the upside to then complete this Y wave. And if that's the case, then it's possible that what we'll see is another move to the downside, where we could potentially breach past the local bottom, and that could then potentially confirm the bigger WXY structure, where that Y wave could then potentially tap into this region here. And so what I will be looking at for is for a 5-wave move, where ADA continues to extend beyond the 1.226 level and then retrace towards the 1.6 level to then trigger a 5-wave structure. And if that's the case, then it's possible that we ended up bottoming out at this level, and then once again we can then begin to track the wave 5. And so assuming that we ended up bottoming out, what I'll do is I will adjust the wave 5 target. And so if I bring in the fib tool and bring this to the local bottom at 73 cents. So here what you can see is ADA has the potential to reach anywhere between 99.42 cents to $1.09. And with that being said, you can see that on the stochastic RSI, the bulls still have the momentum, but they are slowly starting to lose that momentum, and we are on the brink of reaching the overbought conditions. And so if we were to see that retracement to the downside, then the next key level of support will be this level here at 77.47 cents. And if we were to breach past this level, then the next key level of support would be this level here at 76.13 cents. And if I go in the 8-hour chart, you can see that we are still within the oversold conditions. And so I'm still looking out for the bulls to continue to gain that momentum and drive the price of ADA up towards high highs, where we then breach past this level here and then potentially tap into this region here. And the same can be said on the daily chart, where we are within the oversold conditions. And so yeah, we are looking promising as things stand at the moment, and I'm looking out for that continuation to the upside. Now, of course, we did have this golden cross event take place, and historically speaking, whenever we've had a golden cross event take place, we see that continuation to the upside. And so it's possible that we tap into this region and then shortly after we then see that retracement, followed by a continuation to the upside where we potentially breach the all-time high in the next couple of months. But of course, that's something I'm going to be tracking in the days and weeks to come, and I'll keep you guys updated. And so yeah, that's just my update on Cardano ADA. Hopefully you found this useful, and if you did, then feel free to hit that like button, and if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.